Biggest mistake business owners make is thinking they need to reinvent the wheel.
Most people don't realize that all the successful companies are running the same core systems.
That's why we're hosting the Home Service Hoorah, September 7th, 8th, and 9th in beautiful Pensacola Beach, Florida.
We're giving away the exact systems, playbooks, and operations we use to scale to multi-seven figures.
You're learning from real business owners that have been there and done that.
People who are in your exact position and scaled their business without losing everything.
Tickets will sell out, so register now at homeservicehoorah.com. Again, that's homeservicehoorah.com.
I want to start with a phrase that is quietly killing home service businesses everywhere. That will not work in my market. You've said it. I've said it. We've all said it. Wrap the trucks. That won't work here. Yard signs. Not in my market. Charge premium prices in a small town. No way that'll ever work. And today's guest I'm talking to, he believed every single one of those things. His name is Ryan St. Mitchell, and he runs Grove Mechanical in Crookston, Minnesota, a town of only 7,200 people. 9 years ago, he bought that company from his uncle. There was 5 employees and about $1 million in sales. And honestly, he was in a race to the bottom. He was trying everything to be the cheapest guy in town. Today, he's tripled that business. Average ticket is higher than his competition. Every single thing he swore would not work in his market is now the reason he's winning. So, before you talk yourself out of your next big move, listen to how Ryan talked himself into his. This is Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Let's get into it.
Running a home service business is hard. So how is it that some people make it look so easy? Well, we'll tell you. This is the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. It's always good to hear the wins that successful contractors have. But have you ever thought that the best advice would be to hear about the speed bumps they encountered, the mistakes they've made along the way? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want you to be successful and avoid the mistakes others have made. Let's get this party started. Welcome to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Now your host, Justin Deese.
Welcome back to another episode of Freedom Blueprint Podcast. We're hanging out today with my buddy, Ryan St. Mitchell, out of Crookston, Minnesota, with Grove Mechanical. Ryan, what's happening, man?
Hey, Justin. Thanks for having me.
Shoot, yeah. It's cool to have you on. I know you listen to the podcast. I know that you and I have known each other for a couple of years, and I have gotten actually the privilege to work with you kind of on the front lines a little bit in your business, and it's been really cool to watch your growth and your development. I will say for anybody listening, when I think of someone who implements and executes, your name comes to mind, my man.
I appreciate that. I feel like we implement at a snail's pace around here, but
you don't. You're fast. And I think it's part of your personality. You're definitely a go-getter. I mean, what time do you hit the gym in the mornings?
Yeah, typically between 3 and 3:30.
Yeah. So, and that's AM for those listening, not PM.
I mean, there's a lot of, I just don't want to be ridiculed by the other guys that have to check in at 4. So there's a lot behind that.
Hey, listen, accountability is one of the greatest, ethical bullying there is out there. And it's interesting what happens when you have just a couple of people that you're in a group chat with. If they're doing good and, really pushing you to do better, it's really cool to see how that helps drive you. Cause now you're like, well, I got to be up because I can't be the last one on the text message thread when I'm at the gym. So, but still that takes a lot of commitment, man.
It's been a lot of fun. We call it motivational bullying is what I call it. But yeah, that fear of being the last one to check in is not, it's a real thing. So, cause with AI and just personalities, it's amazing how you can shame somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool. So, listen, today I want to get a little bit specific on a process that you guys do that I think is different and better than what most companies do. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about the business as it stands right now. Obviously, we know you're in Minnesota, but what's the business look like now?
Yeah. So, we bought the company 9 years ago from my uncles. We're a third generation. And when I bought it, I was a technician and an installer. I did sales. And I thought that's what it took to run a business. And then I found out that's not what it takes it's what it takes to run a business and stay at the same size. But to try and grow a business and become a little more successful, there's a lot more that goes into it. So we were fortunate enough to find a best practice group and that's how we found you, Justin. It's been amazing. It's been a lot of fun to grow. The retention is probably the biggest thing that we've noticed is since we've been working with you and other people, technicians stay longer, and they're happier. But so there might have been a problem there. And it might have been me. So it's been a lot of learning going on. So.
Well, and good for you for looking for help, and then even better for you for learning and then taking that information and implementing it. Because that's what I'm saying. That's the piece that most people miss is that implementation part. Like it's great to learn things, but if you don't do anything with it, then it's kind of all for naught and a waste of time. And so listen, 9 years ago, you bought the business. What did the business look like in terms of size when you bought it versus what it looks like now?
Yeah. So when I bought the business, we were roughly $1 million sales, end of the year, 5 employees. Since we bought the business, we've tripled that along with profits. And then, we're at 14 team members now. So it's been a slow, steady growth. You add one, you lose one. But it's been a steady growth and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And you guys have, again, like I said earlier, you guys have got a pretty amazing process when it comes to sales. And I wanted to kind of dig into that a little bit, to kind of give the audience some idea on, I think it's easy in business to get in that rut of this is just how we've always done it. And this is just how everybody else does it. And again, I think you guys have a unique sales process. So if anybody's in your area, they can go ahead and turn off the podcast now and not listen. But everybody else should definitely listen and pay attention.
No, I appreciate that. It's been a process that's always evolving. So.
Yeah. So walk us through, before we get into the nuts and bolts of what the process is, what happened for you guys to even start to think of running a sales process the way you do? Because obviously when you bought the business, this is not the process that was happening. But now you guys have seen amazing success with it. Your average tickets have gone through the roof. It's higher than most companies' average tickets. So what spurred the idea, or where did the idea even come from to start selling this way?
I would say it came from desperation is where it came from, to be honest. I was thinking back and I remember we would email quotes. We would mail quotes to people. We type them up, hand them out. And I remember one, I can tell you the exact house where it was. I dropped the quotes in the mailbox to the lady. She called me the next day and she said, yeah, I have your quote, but why are there 2 different prices on 2 different sheets? And I went into panic. So I realized that when we're doing that, you're not in control of the situation. So we have to have a situation where we're actually in control. We have to have a home field advantage where there's no UPS man knocking on the door. There's no dog barking. There's no kids crying. There's no phone ringing. So really it came from desperation. I bought a company for more money than I ever thought I would ever. It was the biggest check I ever wrote. And then now how do I differentiate? Because we were in a race to the bottom. I hear it all the time. We were trying to be the cheapest company in town, beat everyone to the bottom. And then I had a salesman, my Lennox TM, which I'll give him credit for this. He asked me, why don't you try selling higher end equipment? And I said, we're in an old community. It's people that have generational money and they don't want to spend their money on things like that. They want, that's what my mindset was. He challenged me to change my sales process because when you called me, whether it's a furnace, an air conditioner, or heat pump, you got one option. And it's 13's here, and it was the cheapest thing there was, because that's what I thought they needed. He challenged me to change how we present. So we started with offering 5 furnace options, 5 heat pump options, 5 air conditioner options. And I was doing bottom up sales, which first thing you present is what you sell. So he challenged me. He said, why don't you try with inverters and variable equipment and start with that and work your way down? So I was a sucker. I did what he said. And it worked. we started with top down sales, and then he made me start financing. And then he pushed me to do this and pushed me to do that. And it's things that I didn't think people would want. And I was selling out of my own pocket. And the leave your mother in the truck. There's a lot to that, right? Funny to say my mom has an ultimate comfort system, but that's besides the point. So,
of course she does.
Yeah.
Because then you could say, this is what I would put in my mom's house.
Yeah. And so it wasn't so much about selling a high ticket as it was offering. So we were only giving them one option. If you only give one option, I compare everything back to vehicles. You go buy a vehicle, and if you've ever bought your significant other, well, it wouldn't matter for you, but in northern Minnesota, if you ever buy your significant other a vehicle without a heated steering wheel, you would understand that you need to have options, because you hear about it every time they grab the steering wheel. So I figured out that we have to offer everything. If you may not know about heat pumps, you may not know about inverter technology, you might not know about any of that stuff. And if I don't offer it to you, you can't make that choice. So it became really important that we start offering everything. If you call me for a furnace quote, you are going to get a heat pump and an air conditioner quote, because it might be what benefits you. It doesn't mean you have to buy it. But man, if you don't know you can have it, how would you ever buy it? So that's been an important role for us in providing solutions for customers, is what we've really found. And with that, the tickets grew, and we just watched them kept growing and growing and growing. Not every sale's a home run, but, Herb Brooks said years ago, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. And we were only taking one shot per game, and it wasn't conducive to a successful business. So for us anyways.
Well, think about business too, right? So if you're giving one option to a customer, essentially you got a 50-50 shot, where if you're giving them multiple options, just based on percentages and numbers, you've got a better chance of being able to help that customer than you do with one bottom of the barrel system. And I think that's a challenge a lot of technicians have in selling, is they sell as if they're the customer. And at the end of the day, no one's telling you to make a customer buy a high efficiency system. But if you know that's the best option, why not give it? Again, the customer has the ultimate decision. Like, they can say, nah, I don't have that kind of money. I want a bare bone basic system. I'm moving in 6 months. Okay, fine. But they have all the options. The other thing I want to bring up that you said is you talked about top-down selling. And it's pretty amazing what happens when you do that, because now it's that sticker shock, right? Like, you start out at your $18,000, $20,000 system, and then when you get down to your $12,000 system, boy, that seems a lot more easy to stomach than if you go 12,000 up to 20,000.
Yeah, one thing we found was, so we do everything a la carte. We offer furnaces separate from heat pumps, separate from air conditioners. We let them choose from their own menu, but we try and guide them through that experience. What we find is when you start with top down, either we bored them to that point or they're really invested and they want that. So most of the time we give them the top option, and they don't let us move into 2-stage and single stage. They're like, nope, this is what we want. So It's the difference between selling Cadillacs and Cavaliers. So if you go to test drive a car and you're going there to buy a car and you test drive the Cavalier first, nothing against Cavaliers, but that might be good enough. But if you were to test drive the Cadillac, well, I'm not sure, but I'll tell you a story about insulting a customer one time. But they drive the Cadillac first, and they don't want
Pinto, because if they got a Pinto, then it's a vintage machine now.
Yeah, some people might not know what a Pinto is the scary part, but it's
that's true.
Once you've had it, you don't want to go without it. So I did make the mistake one time, and I made that analogy to the customer, and they said, "Well, I have a Cavalier," and my rebuttal was, "But you wanted the Cadillac," and they ended up buying an ultimate comfort system. But so I mean, like you have to present it. You have to give them options. They're not all going to go for that top option, but boy, we find out a majority of them do, and there's a lot of times we've been surprised. You go to a house and you think they're not going to spend a penny. And then they're buying the top tier system because they want to be comfortable when they're home. So,
yep. So, for anybody listening, they're probably going, this isn't new. This is what we do, or this is what so-and-so does. That's not the awesome part of this process. So, let's get into what that part of the process looks like. So, Ryan, when a job is flipped or a customer wants a new system, walk us through what that process looks like for you guys and for the customer.
All right. So we do qualified leads. Technician has to call in on speakerphone with the customer, talking to the comfort advisor. or myself and discussing, hey, this person would like to look at a new system. Do you have time to come on and look at it? We set the lead. Comfort advisor goes out. We do the load calc of the house. And really it's really informal. We go through, we use, conduit tech to do our load calcs, which we always hear we've never seen anybody do that before. I mean, that's step one, right? You're differentiating yourself from everybody else in the field by having tools like that. And it's just a cool thing to see. So we do our initial consultation. We go through all their pain points, cold spots, humidity, dehumidification. A lot of people don't understand northern Minnesota gets very humid in the summer. So dehumidification is a huge sales point for us.
I would not have figured that it gets that humid up there. I mean, you guys are basically Canada, so.
We are. Yeah. We just have a better dollar here than Canada does. But, the humidity, it gets bad. It gets really bad. We'll be 80 degrees with 100% humidity and it's rough. So dehumidification is probably one of our biggest selling of inverter systems. So, we do that consultation. We get done with it and we talk to them. We say, would you like to go over it now? Or would you like to come back to our office and be able to see the equipment in action, be able to touch it, smell it, feel it? And that's how we always talk about it because they're not spending $2,500 anymore. Entry level air conditioners are $8,500. Top of the line is $25,000. And we're talking outdoor unit only. We're not combining that with the furnace yet. So, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I'm going to test drive it. So we have all of that installed here at our office. And then we invite them to come back to our office. We have a room that was set up, specifically for sales. So we'll get into that in a little bit. They'll commit to that. We set a time. We fill it out on the calendar. I'm getting too in depth here, but because we've added some steps.
No, I think this is great.
So this room, I've learned a lot once we built this room. We used to meet in what I'm going to call our break room, and we had this old 1970s table it was literally a 1970s microwave. And I had a customer insult me one time about the room we presented, and so I was like, all right, time to flip it. So we took a room that was my wife's office, turned it into our conference room, put an 85-inch TV on the wall with a 43-inch TV. So key behind the 85-inch is we have two pictures on there. We have a picture of their existing system and we have a picture of my system at home. So they can see what they have versus what they can have. And then I have all the indoor air quality on mine. So that's, one point. And then over on the smaller TV, we have our Google business listing that's got our competitors in there as well. And, so we've got 500 5-star reviews and our next competitor is like 35. At a lower rating. So we don't talk about that, but we leave that up there for them to see and they can ask questions about it if they want to. So in this room, we do have a system, that's installed there. There is no phone. There's no clock. I found out in a home one time when I'm trying to present, the mailman knocked on the door, the dog barked and the kids cried. And I thought my attention span doesn't work with this. So how can their attention span work with it? So we started inviting them in. We have it set up to where they're always facing the thermostat. They're never facing a window that you can be distracted by. Because that was another lesson I learned, that there's a cable whipping in the wind. Sold the system. The customer said to me, that's really distracting out there. I mean, you got to pay attention to the cues they're giving you that fix everything in the surrounding. Because you're the only way you can win is on the best way to increase your chances of winning is on the home field. So we've been using that for years. It's worked really well. We've generated, nice tickets out of it. And my wife said to me, she goes, I want to change something. She goes, I want to include chocolate chip cookies. And Justin, I love chocolate chip cookies, but I didn't think that was a good idea.
Me
too. Until she did it. Now the customer comes in to smell of chocolate chip cookies. Might be folklore, might be fact, but I swear Marshall Fields had a study that said during Christmas, they would pump the smell of chocolate chip cookies into the ductwork and it would increase their sales by 20%. I don't know if it's true or not, but the first time we did cookies, my salesman closed a $47,000 system upgrade, to brand new customers. So I believe in cookies. It's a $5 investment. We're going to do that every time. So we're really trying to create an experience for people that nobody else is going to create. Now there's money that goes into it, but it's well worth it when the larger tickets are coming in because people are comfortable. We're trying to make it as comfortable as we can, almost as comfortable as it would be in their own home.
So something that you mentioned earlier that I think is a fantastic point is home field advantage. And you're right. They're coming into your home, which is nice because now they get to see how you guys operate. They get to see the team. They get to see the facility. And again, you guys are not a 500 person operation. It's less than 15 people. So for anybody listening who's like, man, I can't wait to be a huge company one day to do something like this. I mean, how many people did you have on the team when you guys started this process?
6 or 7, I believe. And it was, like I said, everything's out of desperation. We were just trying to figure out how to pay the bills.
Yeah. I mean, that's the mother of all skills, necessity, right? So, and then with the chocolate chip cookies, I mean, realtors, that's a hack that realtors have used for years. And they say it's because a customer feels at home. So, right. So they're comfortable. They're at home. Whether they eat the cookies or not is really kind of irrelevant. But Ryan, I got to ask you a question. Is that why you get up at 3:30 in the morning to go to the gym? Because you're mowing down on cookies all day?
I'm trying, because 2 cookies a day does add another notch to the belt loop. So yeah, I got to put an extra mile or 2 here just for cookies. So it's worth it. That's why I work out, so I can enjoy the cookies. So
that's awesome. So, did you guys do any tracking? And I know the average ticket went up. I don't know if you tracked it enough to know how much the average ticket went up or how much the close rate went up. But I'd love to hear any of that kind of information that you have.
Yeah, I wish I would have had the data then. We weren't on Service Titan. We were paper invoices, which we've evolved from that. So the tracking was tough. When I was doing sales myself, my close rate was roughly 85%. Now that's an owner selling, so that's a little bit different, but
right.
Our salesmen now, right now we're in a lull because we have no heat. So we're still producing leads. Just a lot of people are thinking about it. You have 90 degrees overnight and people can't sleep. There's no thinking about it anymore. So we're playing with that right now. So we're doing a lot of outbound calling, trying to correct some of that, but it's definitely a learning process. Someday I'll be able to figure out that data. Just today isn't the day. As far as the old, what we were doing before.
Even if you don't know the exact data, you still know when you started doing the process where you were sales wise, and it wouldn't take you much to figure out what your sales is now. And I guarantee you it went up significantly, even if you don't have the data yet. And I'll be willing to bet you guys are going to plug your old data into your new Service Titan and be able to pull all that data out. But it's a pretty awesome process that you guys have built for customers to come in. Now, what percentage of customers do you think, or not do you think, but what percentage of customers actually come in the building for the presentation? Or any of them like, no, just give it to me now so we can keep moving?
Yeah, so I would say we're at about 95% that want to come in and sit down and have this meeting.
That's incredible.
But we have to offer it. If you don't offer it, they're not going to come. I mean, we have people that'll drive 40 miles to come and look at equipment because they're 20 miles west of us and their lake place is 20 miles east of us. So we're right in the middle, but they're making the drive. They'll go home, then come back just so that they can look at the equipment. But, a lot of it, it's not, we don't just talk equipment. I had a sale back when I was doing sales, customer came in. We've never dealt with them before, sat down. We talked about their equipment for roughly 15 minutes. And the next 3.5 hours, we talked about diesel pickups because my diesel pickups in the driveway, and that's just what he wanted to talk about. And I was fine with it. And my wife did say that she was going to knock on the door because they hadn't heard from us in a couple hours. And that was before the cookies. But, in the room, we have a refrigerator that we have drinks for customers. We try and make it as comfortable as we could. If I could put a cell phone jammer in there and feel comfortable about it, I would probably do that just to keep any disruptions out of there. But
I'm surprised you have not done that.
No, I don't want to block an important call that they might have to take. Yeah. So there's that side of it. But the more distractions you can eliminate, we're planning a move in the near future. That's the first room I planned out was my sales room. There is going to be a gas fireplace in that room because this one doesn't have that. My new one, we sell gas fireplaces. My new room will have that. I do want a child play area. I just want to make it as easy of a transaction for a customer. And I don't want to call it a transaction, but of an experience as we can for them.
I think experience is the right word for sure.
Yeah.
Because you're way past you're not being transactional. I think that's the big competitive advantage that you're creating in that whole environment is it's not transactional anymore. They're getting to come see the people that they've talked to on the phone, and they're getting to see where the building looks like. And I just think from a customer standpoint, it just gives them a sense of trust, right? It's not a Chuck in the truck. No offense to anybody named Chuck who's right now listening in a truck, but you're not giving him that experience. They're going and they're seeing a professional building full of people. They know they can trust you, and they know if something's wrong that you're not going to be gone in 6 months. And I think that's a huge advantage that you guys have created.
And that's one thing that my comfort advisor, he did that I never did, and I regret not doing it. But when a couple comes in, and we always want husband and wife together, we will schedule a call at 8:00 at night if we have to have them both there. But he introduces them to our CSR, to our dispatcher, to our bookkeeper, who's ever in the office. He introduces them to. I'm just thinking, man, I wish I would have thought of that. I just didn't. And I really regret it, because now you're putting faces with the voices that they're talking to all the time. A lot of it comes back to, I was that guy that won't work in my market. I'm in this little market of 7,200 people. Wrap trucks won't work. Yard signs won't work. Mailers won't work. None of that will work. And I hear it all the time when I talk sales with people. That won't work in my market. But they're also not willing to offer it either. So why not try it? I mean, if you try it and it works, what did you lose? So we've since wrapped all of our trucks. We do yard signs. We do everything that people in the larger markets do. And it's a differentiator for us. And it's been a lot of fun watching a new customer count grow every month.
Yeah, 7,200 people in a market is obviously not a big market at all. So I think that's another advantage for anybody listening who is doing what you just said that you've done in the past, of I can't raise my prices, that won't work in my market, I'll lose all my customers, yard signs don't work, like any of that kind of stuff. I mean, you guys are blowing it up, man. And it is awesome. And I mean awesome to watch. And since the business has been growing, it's enabled you to start focusing on the business. So there's some pretty cool efficiency stuff that you've been working on for that, I don't know, let's say the past year, whether it be efficiency for installers or the sales process or fine tuning the room that the sales happens in is pretty awesome to watch.
I appreciate that. Shop tours have played a big part into that. Whenever we travel, we do a shop tour. So when we were in Florida, we did 2 shop tours. And this pack out sensation that I didn't understand. And to take a furnace install from 8 hours to 3.5 hours, boy, you can get a lot more work done with a pack out. So that has been a killer setup for us. I appreciate everyone that's been pushing me for the last 3 years to do that. And I've just kind of pushed back, but I always say, man, I wish I would have done that sooner, but it's fun to be the dumbest guy in the room right now. I mean, like, you get into these rooms with bigger contractors and they say things, and it's just so much fun to implement that stuff, because you didn't have to think it out.
Right.
One day I'll have my own idea.
I mean, you don't have to. Just stay in rooms and use ideas. That's the whole point of being around other contractors, because the cool thing about the industry that we're in is that for the most part, contractors are willing to share. And honestly, the ones that aren't, they're not hanging out and going to conferences. They're not being a part of a best practice group or a coaching group. They're not doing any of that. So your chances of running into those people are pretty slim anyways. But plus now, I think what's cool, and you and I have talked about this a little bit, is now you're getting to help other contractors, because you're going, hey, here's what I said wouldn't work, and I did it. And holy cow, like how it's helped the business grow is pretty cool. So it's neat to be able to see you be able to do that now.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun to pay it forward. This Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we have a company coming to do ride-alongs with our techs, because they're trying to implement upfront pricing and option building. And that's something that we picked it up from Just in Time and American Home Pros and do it like this. We just implemented it, and all of a sudden, how do you do that? So it's been a lot of fun. They're going to come and ride along for 3 days and go home and master their own way of doing it. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to be able to give back, for sure, and have those conversations with those people of, average tickets of, I didn't know you were supposed to track that stuff before I got in bigger rooms. So.
And now when you track it, you're like, okay, well, now I see a problem, and now I can, what lever to pull. I think that's the biggest thing is for contractors listening. If you're not tracking any KPIs, you don't know what lever to pull. And that's the most frustrating part of business is if there's a problem and you can identify the root to it and you know what lever to pull and you fix the problem, it makes running a business really fun and cool and exciting because you're like, boom, fix that problem.
Yeah, to be able to see those results. I mean, truthfully, before I joined the best practice group, I couldn't spell KPI, much less know what it means. So, to be able to watch that now, and the power of CRMs out there makes it a lot easier, but to be able to see that, hey, we need to train on this week because the techs are struggling with it. And all of a sudden, so why aren't your techs selling thermostats? Why aren't they offering upgraded thermostats? You really need to dig into the root of it. And if you ask them in a big group, no one will ever admit that, well, I might not know how to wire it for a heat pump. And all of a sudden you do training on how to wire them for a heat pump, and all of a sudden your thermostat sales go up. I mean, it's kind of weird how those two correlate with each other, right? But we're just finding that you just address them all as a big group, and we train them all the same, whether, no matter what level they're at. It's definitely paid off. So.
Yeah, people aren't going to sell things if they're not comfortable either with the product or with the service or have the confidence to install it. And here's the other thing about KPIs that makes things really awesome is that now you're not guessing. So when you go, we're not selling thermostats, upgraded thermostats, you're not guessing, because you're going through your data going, dude, we're not selling these, and that's causing our average ticket to go down. So how do I fix that? Well, I fix it by training and, go over what is it that's in their way of selling it. And I think that's, again, that's what makes business fun, man, is when you can fix those problems and not let them just absolutely dominate you, because that's, we've all been in that world, and that's not a great place.
For sure.
So,
and it's funny you say the having the experience with it, right? That's something I should have brought up earlier. In our shop, right outside of our sales room, we have 3 ultimate comfort systems installed out there. Now, we used to have an older 20-year-old air conditioner out there. So if you don't have it installed in your home or your office or wherever, how can you sell it? You really have to be able to be able to live it and be able to talk to it. And to do that, I feel like you have to have it in your own home, your own sales office, whatever. But to be able to bring a customer outside and show them that piece of equipment, and they ask if it's running because they can't hear it, and one point of contention for them was how noisy their old unit was, it definitely makes a difference. So I probably should have brought that up earlier, but that is another key to being able to sell. Other than them overcoming the size of that piece of equipment, how big 25 series equipment's gotten, it's definitely been a real nice way to work with them.
So Ryan, what are some things in the future? What are some goals you've got moving in the future of the business?
So revenue is always a goal, right? So obviously we want to increase that. Profits are more important than revenue, but we definitely would like to grow our business, technician count wise, and just watch our techs be able to grow. Since I met you, I've been doing one-on-ones, and it's amazing what you learn during a one-on-one. So now how do I do more of them with techs and spend more time with them and learn more about what their goals are? Because now it's become I'm going to say a challenge to see how we can get our techs to meet their goals more than our goals. So, that's one thing for us. More team members, a new location that we already own the building. We just need to do the remodel. That's something that's on the horizon. And then be able to have that middle management to buy back more of our time. That's been one thing for us, that we've been able to take more vacations, since we shouldn't call vacations, or more work trips, since we have grown. But how can we add more middle management so that when we're gone and we come back, it's like we were never missing in the first place? So that's something that we're definitely working towards today. So,
I mean, that's the way to make your business more profitable, is it shouldn't need you. Like that's the goal. People are like, but if my business doesn't need me, what do I do? Go do something else. Who cares? Like, build the business where it doesn't need you, or build the business where you get to do what it is that you love to do in the business versus, putting out the fires. Cause that seems to be what, owners usually revert back to, is like, I got fires to put out. How do I put out all these fires? And they don't get to do what it is they actually enjoy doing.
Yeah. Now we put out dumpster fires instead of forest fires. So there's smaller fires that we're working on. There's still fires, but there's less of them. Sure. So yeah, it's been a fun progression for sure.
Yeah. Very cool. Ryan, I know you got a business to run and a business to grow. So man, I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us today and telling us a little bit about the sales process. Again, being able to work with you over the last year and some change, it's been really awesome to watch you guys grow and implement. And this sales process it's something unique. So thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us, my man.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
You've been listening to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Information is useless if not applied. So take what you've learned and go and implement it. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at Freedom Blueprint for Home Services and hit the website at www.freedomblueprintpodcast.com. See you next time.